Motion is carried. First, we have old business. Tonight we have a session. We have Mr. Bob Taylor, Mr. Aaron Reese.
So, good evening, my name is Bob Taylor, I'm a program development coordinator in the Bible Utilities Unit at the Division of Water Infrastructure at DEQ. I'm actually quite familiar with the town of Axton, before I was in this current role, I actually was employed at, with Stratton now, and I actually came down and helped the town of Axton, do some work and apply for some grant funding. Granted, that was, and, it was right after Hurricane Florence. But then I joined PQ in 2022. So you got this is familiar setting for me. But as you might be able to tell, the way I'm speaking right now, I don't have a polished speech like to present to you folks. But I want to share just a little bit, because I know Angela asked us to come down and kind of talk about how we have been working with town staff and leadership on kind of preparing the town to, I want to say, better finance and better manage your water and sewer utilities. I know the town completed an asset inventory and assessment grant project, that was done by McGill Associates, and the very board approved that, report in the fall of 2020. And that report actually had maps, and it looked at condition assessment of the lower assets and developed what we call a capital improvement plan, right? So this is kind of a roadmap, for you guys to use to determine how you can pursue funding, and but that includes self-financing as well as pursuing external resources, to make investments in the water and sewer developments. Now, you can go onto our website and you can see, so we steward a number of funding programs for public utilities. And so we receive EPA funding and what's called the state revolving loan fund. So we have a pot of funds for drinking water, and we have a pot of funds for clean water. What we call clean water, we think of like wastewater. Right, that's how we do it. Think in terms of what it does. You can go onto our website and you can see how to apply for funds. We have what we call a priority rating system, and you can see what we prioritize for funding, like in for that funding, right? So the higher your score, the more competitive your application is, the more likely to receive a funding offer. You will see that has 4 categories, right? So category 1 is always your project purpose. That is what you need to do, right? Like, what is the purpose of your project? Often it's, I think the most frequent that we see is that you've got failing infrastructure, aging infrastructure. What we like to term it as old and needs to breaks. But then we've got category 2, which is your project benefits, which basically says that the condition of your system is such, you need to address, you need to do this project. And because there's a benefit by doing it, right? And there's usually an environmental benefit. Our program is really emphasizing public health or environmental health. Right, so public health is on the water side, environmental health is on the sewer side. Right, so if you know that you've had some violations, you've got some overflows, you've got, you're losing, treatment water and water distribution system. Like, the benefit from doing this project is going to help address that and, it's gonna allow Maxton to better manage your utility, right? And better ensure that you're, upholding public environmental health. Then we've got a third category, and that's the system management. The biggest way that we can claim points, again, in your application, is that you've got a current asset management plan. That asset inventory and assessment grant that I mentioned before, that developed an asset management plan. Right, so you guys approved that asset management plan. At this point, it's a little old, we would want to see that renewed, like, to some extent. And to apply today, but nonetheless, you still use it, right, you can still rely on that plan. So that's, the system what we want to see the system managed. Right, and you can look at that priority rating system and you can see how you can claim points. These are the things that we are prioritizing. So utilities that are doing those steps under that category. And again, the biggest point getter is that asset management plan. You can see these are steps that you guys can take on your own, right? To show us that you're doing what you can to manage your utility, right? Then that fourth category that's in that priority rating system is what we call affordability. And there we're looking at a couple of factors, right? We're looking at the socioeconomic status and the socioeconomic data of the town of the service area. Depending on what that data is, we'll get through some points or lower points depending on what it is. But we're also looking at the rates. The way in which we score that affordability section based on the rates is that we have to work statewide, right? So what we're scoring on is what percentile the rates are, statewide, right? And I apologize, I forget what that number is off the top of my head. But again, if you look at our priority rating system, if you're at the 70th percentile, you get X number of points in your application. If you're at the 80th percentile, you get a few more points, and so on and so on. We just did our rollout of funding availability for the fall. And I know that information is updated for what those levels are. And we can certainly follow up with the town manager and get her that information as to where that is. These are all things we try to be transparent. So you guys as a board, managing utility, you can go on to our website and download this priority rating system, and you can see the criteria we are looking at. Like for both your project that they have in mind, but plus just what you're doing to manage your utility, right? The things to prioritize that we prioritize, and you can kind of take that into account as to like what we want to see, our utilities across the state, what we want to see them do. Now, I realize I need to introduce Aaron, because I'm taking way too much action. If you recall, so I said I'm a program development coordinator in the biotechnology streams. This is a relatively new program that was established by State Water Infrastructure Authority and the local government commission. It is a joint venture between those two entities. And this is basically a manifestation of the statewide master plan that was published by SWEDA in 2017. And that in that master plan basically outlines the traits that they determine make up a viable utility. And in a nutshell, it's a utility that, can finance itself. And there's, what we call a three-legged stool that make up a viable utility. And that is, we're looking at, the three legs of that stool. Do you have the technical capacity to operate the utility that you have? Do you have the financial capacity to actually finance, right, the system that you have? But then you have organizational and managerial capacity to make sure that, your staff have what they need to operate and finance, the system, and to be able to plan, for those needs going forward. One of our charges, so we've got 160 distressed units across the state, and that's out of a total of 493 units that we assessed. That is roughly a third of each of the have been designated as distressed. Maxton is not among these. To date, according to the way in which we determine whether it is distressed or not, right now, Maxton is not distressed. One of our charges, as a unit, is that we are able to assist utilities to help prevent them from becoming distressed. Right, and so that's where I think we have come in and kind of advising, the town staff on approaches, to take to basically position the towns to better manage their utility. And when I say better position to finance the investments that that y'all need to make. Like, so that so you're able to maintain, a level of service to your customers. Providing them good clean water, and adequate, wastewater services. So that's where I know we've spoken with, both town manager and finance director about, ways in which we look at adjusting rates. I know that that's not a big deal, for the town. So but please realize one of the criteria we look at, in terms of whether a town whether a utility is distressed or not, is whether the operating ratio is above 1. And that's as simple as you have sufficient revenues to meet your expenses. And we know that right now, most recent, annual data from Maxton shows that you guys are in fact, just short, not bringing in the revenues we need to meet your expenses. And so this is where we advise staff to recommend this rate increases to try and get those revenues to meet those expenses. So, in a nutshell, that's a very simplistic way to kind of describe that approach. But this is the origin of that advice, and where that came about, at least in part. At this point, I would like to introduce Erin Riggs of US Water Alliance and let her come up, because one of the things that we are trying to do, at the Bible Utilities Union, there's water infrastructure, is to leverage technical assistance providers who can get in and really help you in ways beyond what we can. And so, so that's where Erin's been generous to be able to do that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Riggs. I'm the director of the Environmental Finance Center for the US Water Alliance. We are a national organization. We help communities across the country in helping them access infrastructure funding for water, wastewater, stormwater, and other needs. And we're funded from the EPA to do this work, which the funding came out in 2021, from the bipartisan infrastructure law. We've been targeting communities that are in higher need and don't have as much ability to access the funding. And some of the stuff Bob just described is the reason why communities get in that position in the first place. Everything we do and provide, for Maxton or any other community is for free. Nothing that we're providing costs any money, and we don't have any, we're not engineers and gonna get anything later from it. We're just doing it, as part of our grant. So I have provided a flyer just in general about who we are. And you're welcome to reach out to us at any time if you have follow-up questions after tonight. I'm happy to talk with anyone. I've been working with Angela, in helping provide some initial assistance and then wanting to see other ways to support. And one of the things I wanted to share is just that we are currently active in at least 30 communities across the country. All of them are struggling with the same things that Maxton is struggling with and that Bob just described. So outside of North Carolina, these issues are everywhere. It's really expensive to maintain water and wastewater infrastructure. If we think about costs of what we can change and what we can charge for and what we're trying to sell, and water is hard to deal with. Water is something that we want to conserve. It's also something that we want people to afford and that they need every day, depending on the size of your family. You may get a lot of it and not everyone can pay really high prices. But that's the only variable cost that we really have. And so all of the other costs for water and wastewater provision are fixed. And the water sector is the highest, by way of capital costs. So you're in a challenging situation and I recognize that, and Angela has shared a lot of, the challenges you've had and recent challenges with some regulations that are also adding some additional burden. So we're here to help. To talk through opportunities to look at your finances and think of other ways to charge rates that might have more affordability factored in. To also look at different rate structures. And then we also have technical engineering services also for free. We have private consulting firms like Withers Ravenel or other firms that can come in and help with some of those assessments that you need to have updated. So if the town wants to update your asset management plan, so that you can try to figure out what the most immediate pressing needs are. We have some resources to support with that as well. And the other thing we can do is just help communications with your systems, and with your ratepayers to make sure folks know what's going on. We're concerned about the safety of your water and making sure, if you have concerns, you have odor, taste issues, different changes to the quality of your water, that there's a stream of communication between you and your town and your utility. We also can help with concerns or communication around upcoming projects and what you can expect as far as increases in your rates or changes to your town. And water projects are often underground, so you have to rip up roads and things. And I know it can be really challenging. So we have a lot of resources, and I love to be able to provide in towns like yours. And we have very involved folks who really want to make a difference. So that's just something that we can offer. And I'll also just note that we've already done a financial assessment, as Bob was indicating, and I provided some information if you want to see. One of the things we did is we assessed the last 5 years of financial audits for the town of Maxton. And we also looked at your capital improvement plan projects, and your rates and other things and your debt that you're carrying. And we pulled up some of those indicators. There's a couple of them on a slide. This is not all of them. We do a pretty robust look at all of the finances for your town, and in some things like cash on hand, Maxton is really in great position. But the one Bob was mentioning, the operating ratio, as far as bringing in enough revenue, you want to be more than 1, and right now we're at 0.82. And then recovering that debt that you have, being able to pay that debt, you're a little low as well. We want to be at 1.2 and you're at 0.71. So both of those things could be improved with rate changes. I know that that's really burdensome and challenging, and has to be done intentionally, so that folks can afford it, but that's something that can improve those. We can also look at some other opportunities for funding for the town to use for some of your projects. And then the other thing I provided, if you've not, before I was at the US Water Alliance, I was at UNC Chapel Hill at their environmental finance center. So I've been doing this work for more than a decade in the state. And UNC has a really wonderful tool which is the rates dashboard. It's on their website. If you want to see how your water or wastewater rates compare to any other system in the state. They get a very high percentage of folks who respond, and they display it on a map, and you can do some comparison. We pulled a few systems that you might be familiar with, just to show you kind of what Bob was just saying, which is that people are all in the same boat right now. And you can see that even folks who are charging quite a bit more for their water are also suffering from lower operating ratios than they want to be at. So it's not just Maxton, and it's not just a magic number. We really have to work together and try to figure out what it is that you all need to be charging, and what you can afford going forward. So those are just some examples of what we pulled and put together for Angela. We put together an entire PowerPoint, and I'm happy to come back and present it for everyone if people want to see it, see more information. And I'm also happy to just be a resource going forward. Angela, is there anything else that you want me to cover? Okay, great.
So I guess at this point, we'd like to, if the board has any questions for us.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Taylor or Ms. Reeves?
I do. My name is Geraldine McClure. You were talking about the resources. Do they have resources to help the people buy water because of the lead in our water?
We don't have financial resources for paying, but we have engineers who can help with assessing if there's concerns about lead in the water. And we can help identify engineering services for assessing that.
When you have seen this before, on average, how much time, I know you may not know this off the top of your brain, how much time has it taken a city or county cover to reach that operating ratio?
So I would say that it varies, but it's more of a marathon than a sprint. I would say, it definitely needs to be a very intentional effort, right? You know, from the board, you know, to really work at, you know, the ways in which, you know, to address those, revenues that are required, while at the same time operating at the level that is required. Right, so, we also completely understand that, you know, the board does have, a need to look at affordability of the rates. Right, and that's a very real issue. And, you know, so it's definitely a challenge, and I think that's where, certainly our team at Bob Utilities, but I'd also even, include US Water Alliance and Environmental Finance Center and other technical systems, you know, even, you know, Lumber River COG can kind of help when it becomes apparent that it's gonna be a real struggle. You know, like if that marathon is just too long and it becomes apparent, like, we might not get there. And yet the operating costs are such that we're gonna need some outside resources to help. So. But.
I'll just add that it depends on the solution. Okay, it depends on the solutions that are pursued. Sometimes when there's an option for regional partnership with another utility to help, it spreads out the costs and can happen faster. So that's just something to consider, and then also how quickly a town can handle rate increases is gonna help.
That's what we have great about concern about that. We work with each deal. I understand deal with great.
Yes.
I just want to be clear that you have the rates in You know, you have eased it up a little bit, you're still not where the state wants to be.
That's correct. And let me add too, is I know, we've talked, we've kind of touched on, applying for funding, right? I talked about our priority ranking system and getting, funding for a capital improvement project. But please realize that our funding is only to go towards that capital project. That would not, our funding is not used to actually operate the system. Right, and so that's, again, like, that's where, the rates come in, those rates must cover, that operation and maintenance costs. So.
So do y'all help the town, work with the town about possibly, cause if I was suggesting about combining different, to make the, water lines together with the airport and Waverly, would you help facilitate or help them assist them in combine, getting together and doing that? If they need your assistance.
That's something that we can help with as a technical measure. The other thing that we can help with, to build upon your question is just, an actual rate study. And a rate study is gonna show, I think if we can first get the technical needs straightened out and understand up to date, not 5 years ago, but where are you today? With your infrastructure needs, what is the most pressing, and then what is it gonna take for a rate structure with your current customer base to pay for that, and then we can do a comprehensive rate study that will show you what your rates should be to cover those costs. And that would be something that you should for.
And I'll just add that our team, we are working with a number of, what we call partnerships, right? And which, exactly what you were describing. Right, are there other nearby utilities that we work together? Yeah, can we, it is really the way we think about it, like, are you gonna be able to combine those resources to better operate? As one utility, and sometimes that does not necessarily mean that you're physically interconnected or you're completely absolving one utility into another. But you're looking at the ways in which you can share costs.
I'm saying that we already doing that.
Right.
We're looking at that.
Before, we leave tonight, when they do the FP presentation, ask us still to, speak on it, we got somebody here to talk about that. But the young lady is Miss, McClellan, she mentioned about free water, help out with the water, bottled water. Cumberland County is doing that, but what's happening, they have their own way, they have subdivisions on so they do the best in our future like this. But in our case, we have sewer treatment plants, so I don't know. What they asked me was, you couldn't actually, the state couldn't chip in and do that case, right?
That's right.
Yeah, some, I don't.
Maybe something you don't know about.
The state's got 7 days. You got to have an action limit for your lead is 0.015. before you can even report it, it's gotta be higher than a .003. I just done with the copper last. Seven out of 20 was below reporting limit. The letter you got, a lot of people think there's lead in the water because of that letter. That letter is something the state made up, they provided that letter, we have to send that letter out every year. Because back in 17, the EPA started changing rules on lead copper. And one of those rules they implemented was we got to go around and dig up every meter to for sure say there's no lead connection at a meter in time. I'm pretty sure we have no lead connections. But that's not, I can't tell them that they said. We got to actually physically go there, dig it up and look. Before we turn it in, because if I turn it in, and if something happens, there's one somewhere in town, I'm liable for that. Then the town's liable for me. So we have to send that letter out, it's not saying you got lead in your water. They put too much information in that letter because people who don't understand think just like you're thinking, well, I got it in the water, what's the issue? But that's not the case. That's just something we have to send out every year until we get around to checking every meter in town. Once we get every meter in town and check, we're not gonna have to send that letter out. And we're short staffed. We don't have funds to get somebody to come in here and do it for us. So it's gonna be another year or two before we get around to check it out. So when we receive another letter, we have to send that letter out every year. The state tells us we got to do that. The state wrote that letter and sent it for us to send out. We need to send that letter out or use a template. They got a template, we go about what we do our own. But if we make it up the same information they got from what we sent out, it's got to be in what we sent out too, so we just use the template they already made up. But it's not saying you already got laid in. It's just telling you options to do if you got a concern with yourself. But the town's already tested for it. It may not be tested in your house, but we got 20 sites throughout our rural system. That makes it the majority. And like I said, I just tested last month, we're nowhere near get to where we got action that goes to 0.01, we're nowhere near that. So there's no way in the water to be a hazard to your head. Anything we do, as far as sampling and stuff, everything is state regulated. Everything, we answer to the state on everything, I'm full samples all year long for water. And if anything's wrong, the state's gonna want us to get it straight. And if we don't get it straight, they'll come and do straight. So everything we do is across the state has us. And some of the letters like the one you got, in my opinion, I said something to the state about it, but people hiring won't come up with that. And that's what we have to, they're mandated, so they pass it down to us. They're mandated from the EPA. The EPA gives it to the state gives it to the water utilities. So we have to do that to stay in good graces with them, keep operating. We have to do update difference. And that's, don't have no issue with it in the water, it's just the way you got it worded in there will make you think that it can go to one. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Is this correct? What this gave us, is this the right rate? For maximum? You look, you see it.
No, I wait.
Yeah, can you give us, can you give me correct when we get to your part?
What on rates now, 70
Yeah.
$71.60.
Yes, sir. Then now we want to do business. We have 4 items And the business first item is Southeast Kentucky Airport Authority. Set the stage which goes out for the base.
Good evening, Town Council, Mr. Mayor. As always, we appreciate the opportunity and came this evening to talk about a different side of the infrastructure, being the airport, some of the construction projects that we have going on. The Town Council was invited a couple of months ago to our groundbreaking for the new terminal building. We also had our skid topping ceremony for it as well. Construction continues to progress with that. If you haven't had a chance to be out there lately, I encourage you to come out and check us out. We've got 2 projects currently under construction, a new terminal building, estimated to be completed at the end of this calendar year, so we're looking forward to that. And then our new T hangars are expected to be wrapped up in the next 30 days. So the T hangar project, that's gonna give us an additional 18 spots or almost garages for aircraft at the airport. That's doubling our current capacity, so we're really excited about that. Something that's not as glamorous, but in the next 30 days, we'll be bidding out our security fencing project for the airport. So if you've ever been to Long Beach, which I know each and every one of you have, we currently have 4-foot chain link fencing around most of the airport, farm fencing on the backside of the airport, and no fencing in a little bit of a swampy area next to the Long River. So this project is actually going to fence in the entire airport, which is about 35,000 linear feet. That's a very expensive project for fencing. So what we're gonna do is space that over several years. How do you eat an elephant? You eat it in small chunks. So that's what we're planning to do at the airport. And then in the next 30 days as well, we should be opening bids for 2 new corporate hangars at the airport. So we have 1 corporate hangar. It's leased to the MedTrans Corporation, which is under contract with Scotland Memorial Hospital for medevac life flight. That's been full for 4 years now. So we're looking to build 2 new corporate hangars to entice more business aviation to the airport. So we have a lot of construction going on. I tell everybody that the rest of my year will be going in the next 3 years of all this construction, but it's a good problem to have at the airport. And it's something that we had for the first time last year, which is why Mr. Brown's here today. Is we had our inaugural Sky High Aerospace Expo, our first air show at the airport in 50 years. And so there was some success, which Mr. Brown will talk about. But we're looking forward and excited to bring it back again this year, October 17th. So, before I pass it over to Mr. Brown, are there any questions for the airport or for myself?
We want to do the, this talk first and then, speak on the water situation.
Yeah, so, we do have, at the, I believe it was the June town council meeting, the town did approve to enter into a memorandum of understanding to explore regionalization of water and wastewater services with the Southeast Regional Airport Authority. So that is something we have engaged our engineering team, a firm by the name of Ardura, to begin looking into what a feasibility study might look like. Ms. Andrews mentioned it, but there has been funding released, and so our engineers are looking at getting a piece of the pie, so to speak, for that feasibility study to see what a true merger could present. So we are still working towards and looking into that, Commissioner Walker.
Are there any program income coming out of these projects?
For the construction projects at the airport. So there will be for the hangars, so those will be revenue generated, so we will rent those hangars out to people who base their aircraft, similar to a garage at your house, but it's just they can't land in their driveways, so they're in at the airport. So the corporate hangars and the T hangars will be revenue generating, the terminal building will not be. That is just for airport staff and for pilots to utilize the terminal building.
And, my understanding that Maxton is part with the address. Correct me if I'm wrong. So will Maxton be given a piece of that revenue?
It's a great question. The short answer is, unfortunately, the answer is no. So the FAA has what's called 29 grant assurances, and so they stipulate that any dollar generated at the airport has to stay within the operating budget of the airport. So anything that is spent there goes back into the airport. And that's just for infrastructure. We're a little bit unique, so most cities and towns actually pay into the airport every single year. Laurinburg Maxton Airport is very unique in the fact that the town of Maxton nor the city of Laurinburg actually contribute to our operations budget. So no taxpayer dollars actually go into our operations at the airport. That's very unusual if you look at other airports across the state. So we're very proud of that. It's a good question. Well, if there's no other questions, or if you have some afterwards, I'm 5 miles on the road every day, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Love to take you on a tour sometime, show you some of the construction projects that we have going on, and we would love to have you join us for the air show in October. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Brown. I know he's got some exciting things to talk about.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for letting me come back once again. I have not seen you guys since before my last, or our very first show. I pitched some big bright ideas to you. A lot of people looked at me like I was crazy, but I'm here to tell you that we did it. We brought in about 4,000 people to the airport in a single weekend, which is pretty unheard of. We did all the crazy things I said we were gonna do. We had the jet truck, we had the races, the jets, the fireworks, all awesome things. And it was an amazing weekend, very stressful for those that's on the top of the totem pole, but we are doing it again. So we're back again this year, October 17th. It's gonna be a weekend long adventure for us, but it's a single day air show this year. We're trying a couple of things differently this year to try and assist us with a little bit more control over, budgetary things and things of that nature. We got a lot of neat things coming out. We've got a couple of jets coming out. We've got our jet truck coming back. The fireworks, folks, for anybody that's been out there last year, you probably agree with me, the fireworks were pretty freaking amazing. So they are coming back and claiming they're gonna double up this year. So it's gonna be an incredible show. It's October 17th, it's on Saturday. Our tickets are currently live as we speak. They are currently $20 per person. And what we do is the same thing. We did that. We have a coaster ticketing system. So it's August through September is $20. September 1st will go up $10. And then for the final month of October, it'll go up to the base price of $40 per person. So it is encouraged that you go ahead and get tickets. If you decide you want to come, get those as early as possible. You can find any information on skyhighexpo.com. I put stuff up there pretty much every day, so if you have questions on what's gonna be there, who's gonna be there, any, frequently asked questions, all that stuff is there, you can as well, come see me, and I'm glad to answer for you. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I have three actually.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brown, good evening, good to see you, it's been a year. My question is the same as last year, so representation matters to me about the Mexican side, obviously. When I went to Library last year, I did see the signage for the event, but we have promoting y'all too, right, Brian? So I wanna make sure this year, like out on 74 or somewhere else, we do have a sign that tell people where to go, because when those people come into this town for your air show, that means they may go to a food line, a gas station, somewhere else. So we also want to be, included in that. So that's my statement / question. My second is for vendors. What is their deadline? Last year, when y'all at this meeting, we had vendors to call the very next day. But it was explained to them that the cutoff was already there. So this year, we want to make sure that we're clear and again, represented not only on Scotland, but on also Mexican side, because there are vendors, on both sides. And then lastly, it was a volunteer program. It was structured where the volunteers signed up. There were, multiple different amenities that they could benefit from. I think there was like coffee, different things. So I want to make sure we have a lot of volunteers on our side, a lot of different teams that would come out and actually, help or support. But it was last minute when we found out on our side. So I just want to make sure we have enough or adequate time to make sure that we can get the information out on Mexican side, just like we did for Scotland.
Okay. So to address a couple of those things, so as I mentioned before, last year was our very first year. We had to learn a lot, but we had to go through a lot and learn a lot as well. So a lot of things that just, like she brought up, things that were brought to our attention afterwards, that we've done a lot better this year. We've cleaned up a lot of our processes. So all of our vendor registration, our volunteer sign up, all that stuff is currently live, and it will not turn off until the night before the show itself. You can go on live go on there right now as we speak and look at all that stuff. We have a new platform this year, which kind of centralizes about 90% of all of our registrations. The volunteer sign up stuff is exactly last year. We kept that same platform because it worked. And this year we're hoping that things are going to be a little bit more streamlined. We've got a brand new volunteer director that she's going to be over everything and make sure all volunteers get everything that I promised. that they were gonna receive. Last year, they did receive, you know, their t-shirts, they received their hats, their coffee, all the things I told them they were gonna receive. And I didn't hear any negative feedback. Everybody that came out, I heard had an amazing time. Different this year, we're in October, right? So we're about a month later, but the temperature's gonna be a little bit more manageable, and people aren't baking out in the rain. But if there's anything that I can do for the volunteers, you know, if they want to come out and help and there's something that they need. We'll. We're always looking to. Okay. We're always looking to grow our program and make it better. So as I mentioned, you know, last year, this is not Trey's air show. This is our air show. This is our event. It does not succeed without you guys coming to me and telling me how bad I did and I need to fix it. So help me make it better and I'll be glad to, you know, facilitate anything to make it better for you guys, anybody who wants to volunteer. Regarding getting information out, again, if there's any questions that I can answer, all our stuff is currently live and on the website. It is all up to date as far as all the information for the show itself. And then advertising for the town of Maxton. If there's anything that I can do for the town to promote either on my website, social media connections, that the town of Maxton is involved, I would be absolutely glad to do so. Just let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Did that answer your question?
You did.
Fantastic. Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to approval of budget amendment. And it takes control, $10,000 to $51, but we want to do that when it's is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is carried. Next, we have approval of purchase of a new sanitation truck. We have 3 bids. Requesting motion to approve the low.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Next, we have a discussion. No. Yes. It's not. Okay, well, we purchased a new sanitation truck. We go with the low bid, this is for $240,000. Trash truck. Sorry, Next, we have a discussion from historical preservation. We have member from the regulation board, and the MI.
Mr. Mayor, board members, neighbors. So yeah, my name is Nehemias and I moved to Maxton about 4 years ago. I've been kind of in the sidelines, just watching, observing, and taking a lot from the town. I finally thought it was time for me to start reading further to the town, so I joined the recreation committee. One of the first things I did, so that the town is aware of, we completely revamped our website. So we now have a modern website with all the current information. We have signups for volunteers, for vendors, and things of that nature that will work with recreation. So that's live now. You can go to maxtonrecreation.com and it's there. We also have a phone number now, so you can call us directly. That's also on the website. So there's a few other things in there, a lot of historical stuff in the website that I've included, a lot of contact information, just a way for you guys to reach out. The reason I did that was because when I first moved here, well, let me start by saying I came down here because I fell in love with the house. And that was pretty much it. So after I purchased the house, I tried to reach out to the town in one way or another, and I just found that there was a lot of things lacking in that sense. So now I'm kind of help bring that up to speed for the town. So in the same way that I did the website for the recreation community, I also am offering to do for the town free of charge. That's kind of the things that I do. So if you have any suggestions or anything like that for that, feel free to let me know. I'll comment for you guys. But as far as the preservation stuff, so I moved into a house that's historic, it's over 100 years old. pretty well preserved, I'm doing my part to some of the property. But it goes without saying that there's quite a few historic properties here that need some help. So what I started to do, I started to do some research on possible grants that are being available to the town. And I came across about $47,000 worth of grants that we can apply for. There's just a few things that we would need at that point. In your inbox soon, you'll have my presentations, so you can have access to that information as well. But one of the things that we're looking to verify, is the status of the town. We actually have a preservation society in the town. I did hear that we did at one point, I'm not sure exactly what the status is right now. But that's one of the things that, so I reached out to the state directors for that to find out what the process is to apply for some of these grants. And that status for the town, is one of the, requirements, special designation, the town requires. So, once you approve, the presentation, you're inbox, you'll have those questions in there, and you could help me answer those, and help, try to facilitate that as well. The goal here is for me to make my services available and free of charge to the town, just so that we can get things up to speed. I'm more than willing to, help out with the board, or anything of that nature. Again, that's kind of what I want to say. Any questions?
Any questions from the audience?
Do you know anything about the historic preservation?
Yes, at one time there was a committee, yes,
What?
and it still should be one. Because, that's how we acquire this building and everything, that we're gonna keep working.
All days, when he was the mayor, when he left, he was trying to get the historic, for family operated. But I don't know. If they were that bad.
There's not any information on minutes of things back in the minutes in the 90s.
And he was working on it, but it never came before and for.
Cause
He was the one.
Oh, that's.
Right, yeah, next to.
Yeah.
A lot of people have died.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, so. That's done. I think Miss Dixon and Paul, and they had contacted her and asked me. Yeah, yeah, I'm good for that.
Oh. I guess it's you never see what he came up with. I mean, it's, okay, he just taking care of his family. So they would definitely see how I told him that.
Yeah, that's no thing.
it should be some information on it at the building.
Yeah,
It's some information on it, the organization who was on it and all that.
I know that he went to the museum and, found some information and he has, yeah.
We should have ran a copy, we shouldn't remove it, we should have ran a copy.
He said it.
Okay.
We're not moving on, looking for 2 minutes on. Please state your full legal name, the board staff, not responsible, and if your comments, questions that you don't form. For us, that you follow through. You know, that's what. Is there anyone that likes to address? I don't know.
This one. Thank you, whoever did the murals, they are very pretty. Thank you, Susan. And also have a question. A lot of this shooting and violence and vaccine, I know we sort of weaned away about cameras. I would like to go and please revisit, get some block cameras. I know we don't want no people, but it's time for Maxon and you people to get uptown. These people are shooting up stuff, and we can't catch it. And we just need to put cameras out everywhere, and you do something, you just look out. A long time this shit. And it needs to stop. And I do know cameras work. They work cause the police cannot be everywhere. I see them work in Danville, they work in Danville Canyon, I see them working in Longer. I all over, and I know people they talking about the cameras, the bad things about it, but Max the need. And they are community crimes. Or, so please give us some cameras.
Thank you, Then, council.
Hi, I'm the Embers, I live on Florence Street, and I know last week, somebody brought up about the abandoned house. It's directly in front of my house, and I have a lot of concerns about that. I just wanna know, is there any update on the house? Because somebody's going in and out of there, and we have kids in our neighborhood, little kids, and I'm really concerned about those kids. And I go home, I'm not gonna tell you how I go home. When I go home, sometimes it's late, sometimes it's early, so I have some type of fears about also, about who might be in the house. Who might not be. I just want to see if something can be done about that. Thank you. You know what?
My name is Reverend Shakti Kenzie. My sister and I are over making waves. I just want to give you a quick update. This summer, we had approximately 70 kids. We had 20 volunteers throughout the Maxon community. We didn't have any fights, we didn't have any problems. It was a smooth program. I know we in a mix of, in the middle of transitioning. I want to say thank you to the town for the last 5 years, allowing us to be in that building and to do the work that we've done. And I can't wait to keep working with you guys. Maxon has shown up and showed out, and we was able to put make the Lombard exchange, so people see what the town of Maxon is doing, not just the board members, but also the members, and how it's also, because I'm also an educator here in the town of Maxon at Townsend Elementary School, how the work that we are doing at Making Waves is making an impact in our grades. Don't know if you know, but Townsend is not an L school no more. We are not an L school, so stop telling people our kids can't do it, because they can do it. And so we need to speak life and not death. I'm also a pastor here at the Circle St. George's, Northern City, on Sunday, and we are making a difference here. My sister is in the space, and we want to continue with this partnership and want to keep making a difference.
My name is William Cox, I'm here to represent Cox Automotive in Maxon about a proposal to do a car show on October 24th, because we wanted to do it at the end, but they have some air shows, so I can't do that. But I'm gonna have down, it's at 103 North First Street. And I need to know if it's gonna be okay for me, number one, to have it be, and then number two, to shut down that road beside our salvage yard. That's basically what my concern is, but that's the damage of it. And money.
Okay, give it cheap. Give it cheap on the cap, they got more depth to obviously.
I've already spoke to them, sir, and they said for me to come here and talk to y'all, they didn't have an issue with it because it's a secondary road. So, yeah, I'm just asking for the approval of all that stuff. Okay, I gave her my phone, so she can have my number and my father's number. And y'all can call us anytime there. All right, thank you. It's gonna be October 24th. And if that's not a good day, we can do it on the 10th. But the time would be 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. That way it wouldn't be after hours, dark outside. And it's just gonna be fun for kids, far as villages, we got a lot of nostalgic things over there, it's a very good place that we do. We want to get the community to come together out there and have fun. Yeah.
Good evening. I just heard me like, town to let the kids know that on October 22nd at Balls of Christ, we'll be giving out school supplies, and then we have hot dogs and hamburgers from 12 to 2. And we're giving out 100 book bags, first come, first served. So please let the community know when you're out and they come and eat and give them time. 12 to 2. I'm sorry. It's Saturday, it's Saturday, it's Saturday.
Twenty-seven hours, the Life Mentoring Program is holding an event at 502 South Florence Street here in Madison. We are asking you to bring all your young men, get up all your young men. It's a mentoring program. And even adult men, we need mentors. They are always saying the men in Madison ain't doing all the really doing. So here's the opportunity to come out Saturday at 11 p.m. to join up with us, get mentors, and have stand-up mentees to come into this program. After the shooting is done by 15, 16, 17-year-old young people. And so if we can get enough people in this Life Mentoring Program, then we can also start hitting the streets and talking to these young men and building with them and coming together with them. Myself and the mayor is talking about holding a meeting with some young men to call a truce and conflict resolution in our community. So we are working on doing this here Saturday, 27th, 11 p.m. And 502 South Florence Street here in Madison. Come out, bring your sons, bring your nephews. So we can contact them, take information, and then follow up with them for activities. Because all our children don't play football, all our children don't play basketball. So we will be trying to teach self-defense, chess, checkers, how to dress, how to carry yourself. We want to do all this with our young men. We have to put them in the environment. Environment be similarity. And so we want to do this here with the Life Mentoring Program. We on the Rockland County Parks and Recreation. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone else would like to go to council?
I'm just like to say, my name is Jordan McClung. They town cleaning up in the area of those perfect gutters with grass and growing, so everything with that filthy time to clean up there. So the schoolhouse, next to schoolhouse, the sidewalk is up with grass. It needs cleaning because if they try to walk from up around town, you want, that part to be cleaned also. There's nobody living here, that's why it's so bad. But still, people walk the streets. Over by the old dollar store. This week, old people leaving, first people leaving, over there in that area, this might be still there, in that area. It looks real bad, across from that house that, Maduga, not James Maduga, but Clinton bought that house. Over there, that house, that area of the street, drive through there, commissions, y'all drive through there. Drive through there and see, that would need to be a change. Say what? All the way around the street, already, all the way to the street, half street, yes. Thank you. But I thank you for the improvement.
Anyone else like to address the council? There's no one else, I now call the public.
Now we move on to our reports. First, we have regulation.
So this is gonna be a little different, originally, I was gonna give a bunch of dates and stuff. And I will sit back there saying some prayers because sometimes. What we say and the impacts that we have, it does carry value. And sometimes when people report it, we gotta be mindful of where information travels into the world. So with that being said, we're gonna do this a little bit different. So for me, first, anything I say, it can be repeated, recorded, so I don't mind. But I also want to be sensitive to a couple people, right? I will omit some names, but I do want to share. And I'm just gonna read directly and then I'll come back. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to share updates on not only the chamber, not only recreation, but the first weekend. I do want to start by addressing the narrative circulating that nothing is getting done in Max, and my agent said that earlier. That is simply inaccurate. Dedicated leaders are working quietly and tirelessly behind the scenes every day. We're gonna start with the chamber. So it's a lot of chatter out here in our community. And when people get on this blue app, they very bold with some of their economy. Also, some of their group chats, some of their family chats, that stuff has been screenshot and sent to me. I'm not that person. You ain't gonna see me cut up food with you, none of that, right? First of all, we're too old. I like orange, but I ain't thinking about no orange jumpsuit and no silver bracelets behind foolishness, right? So my challenge first behind the chamber, we lost our chair, which is Miss Rita McKeachin. A lot of y'all know her. Most of the time you seen her, she was walking somewhere. When you see her walking, she was going to get a donation. She was going to ask somebody to join something. But more importantly, she was going to challenge what we consider status quo or being basic, right? Miss Rita always said that Madison has great potential, and we all say that, right? Every time. But the difference is she came out of her shell, and you would have never known that she is not from Madison, right? While we're grieving, going through, we got a little bit of disrespect, you know, the screenshots that came. No, I don't know what y'all doing with the chamber and all this stuff, so we ignored it, right? Then Mr. Josie passed. Here we go again. That's another one of our board members, right? For the chamber, also for GNet, St. Louis Freedom. So we are navigating the best we can, but at the same time, we're trying to ignore the noise, right? At the same time, we trying our best to do what we know how to do, which is support Mr. Lowe, which also is our consultant for the chamber, and he's our chair for GNet. So Mr. Lowe saying, I know I'm being recorded, Mr. Lowe. He didn't really want to be around people like that. So we trying to figure it out as a group, but at the same time, not bringing the information to the public because you want to be sensitive over people. You cannot tell anybody how long to breathe or how to feel. But when he showed up, everything we did reminded him of Miss Rita. That was hard for us. Me, I was devastated. I know Candy messaged me. She was like, I know you're not okay. To this day, I lie to myself because I'm not okay. Just so you know. Miss Rita was my mentor. She is the reason I'm standing here today. And the reason because I gave up. I feel like it was like on soul food. Because so much of what we do is battle each other. Our problem here in this community, and I've said it a million times, we go down, we want the school board, we want RBD, we want all of this, okay? This person, Mike, I'm just call you name, but not really the thing, okay? Say Mike is going to the school district to get RBD. You got Miss Geraldine, not really. Miss Geraldine, beat him down there, don't give it to him. He don't know what he doing, we gotta stop doing it. The problem is, not only that, we have other partners in the room that watch, Seth, I'm gonna pick on you, but Seth here, I call Seth Big Wing, that's the airport, right? We shouldn't be doing stuff like that. That looks some kind of way. If you can't get along with each other, how can we work together to do a brand, to do other stuff? And I love these murals that are up, but no disrespect to her, I love y'all, but that's what should have been done years ago. But you know why? I can't, because people worry about the wrong thing. Crabs in the barrel, you worry about who stole this, who stole that. All of us just sold grapes out the grocery store, so don't sit there and tell you nobody can do this. When you get that grape, you done took one out that bag. That thing don't weigh the same when you get to that register, right? We wanna see they so juicy, we wanna see if this one right. So how is your judgment on somebody else different? Then when it comes to grants, I got the screenshots on it too. Maxon, they down, they slow, they got all these opportunities out there, nobody's trying, that's not right. You got like a group that went to get grant with Kaboom. I got leaders, individuals from the community that emailed Brianna separately, trying to take the grant. Or saying, hey, they don't need it, we on the same team. And then people wonder why the playground look like it do. Some of the funding got redirected because you went running your mouth. You should be minding your business or it become help. But you don't put your mouth on nobody else and say, oh, they shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. That's the look bad out there. But every time you try to put something there is something negative. Oh, they ain't do nothing for kids, they don't care about the kids. It's 10 groups that I can name just right off that do care about the kids. GMAT is one of them. You can ask Miss Mary, she's one of my teammates on the GMAT board. We had what, 41 students this year, Miss Mary? We thought we was going crazy. We volunteers, but we have 41 14-year-olds. We had some at Mo's, they're employees by the way. Some at Making Waves, some at the town, some at Dead, some at Piggly Wiggly Family Dollar. They work all over Maxon. I asked a few people to come volunteer, like I know you did, but sometimes kids gotta hear somebody other than themselves. One of my students tried to commit suicide. I can't do nothing about that, but she needs somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I got kids that sleep in a car. You know how hot it is out there? It's hot. So when you go back in your sweat, when you go outside and this air conditioner, we thank the Lord for, remember some of my students, they have different situations. I'm a little disappointed because of some of the screenshots I've seen, some of the people in this room. I'm very disappointed. Know that I know, but please be careful how you say anything about that chamber or Miss Rita, because I don't care about that, and I don't care about her. As far as G-Man, the other thing I will share, we are privately funded. I read some comments about that. Why they don't do this, why they don't do that? You take that up with Mr. Lowe. Mr. Lowe did no big time funds, whatever, from partners, whoever. He don't do grants, all this federal funding, that's none of that. It's our paycheck, we donate, or there's someone that gives a donation. If you don't have any of that to give your time, that is the most valuable thing that you can give these kids in the community. And I said at the GMAT Gala or our fundraiser, I hear a lot of people talking about the kids, and I used to call them bad, but some of these kids, if you really talk to them, you don't know what they got going on at home. We have a questionnaire for kids. One of our students clearly says she want to be a better mom than her mom is. I don't know what to do with it, but I need somebody to know what to do with it. I got children that don't know how to write or read. They are seniors. Miss Mary will tell you, we help them kids over and over. We fuss, and then Mr. Lowe come back and say the same thing Miss Rita used to tell us. That is the reason we do the program, to help out, because somebody gotta help these kids. And my last thing, and I'm done, when we get to Christmas, I ain't wanna hear nobody, I won't gonna say it, but I ain't wanna hear nobody put no judgment on the parents, because some of us also live you right by our children. None of us in here are parent of the year. And some of these people got some real life situations, and that's why I said I'm being carefully, I ain't gonna mistake and send about a name. We could be sitting next to somebody that got a real issue, and we don't know it because of their pride. I don't put the judgment on these families. And during Christmas, I don't care how many kids it is, we try to make sure that they have something. I know me and Candy joke all the time about that old school brown paper bag with the orange, the apple, and all of that. And we said we won't give it to no kids. You know, but we did something like that at GMAT, and somehow we think the kids don't know. Our students went to the radio, and when I tell you, no kids are smart, they just need somebody to listen. They need an outlet. So my challenge to everyone in this room, I'm not gonna take you through the dates. I'm gonna say it's about togetherness.
I don't care what other group you belong to. When you come to another group, you give your all. If you can't make it, you call, text, something. What can you do to be a part of that team? Because every day of the week, when I ride out here, I do it all the time. I always say, this is for like, I think it's Pittsburgh. We talked about that in August. Where people sitting outside eating food. I always want to ask Bills, why you don't put no table outside? It's the visual and the aesthetics for me, right? I think that looks nice. The brightest thing we used to have downtown, of course, was Antonio Shop, now we got Mural Match. I think that's nice. But when people come here and see stuff like BMI is new to our neighborhood, he fell in love with the house, then he realized 4 years later, it's a whole community out there. When he came to our first recreation meeting, we scared him, I know we did. He probably didn't realize we did all that stuff with the food giveaways and all that, because we hide behind the scenes. But thanks to Nehemiah's now, we will no longer hide. The recreation team has a site. Everybody that mentioned an event today, from Seth to Mr. Brown to Mike, Miss Mary, Mom, I think somebody else. If you mention anything from today forward, it needs to be there. The visual. If you need volunteers or whatever that is, I ain't messing with any of our money though. But whatever you need, we need to work together. Maxon can do it, absolutely. And then lastly, I didn't say lastly, but lastly is, so. The other attack on my recreation team is about the parade. Oh. The parade itself always has came up under the town council, as far as I have known, right? What we do as a recreation team, again, we always happen, but you always see us and stuff, because I always get on the team about, we don't boast or brag. If you're doing something, you do it from the heart, nobody should know that you're doing this and hey, I'm recreation, I don't believe in that, right? I tell them that, put your hand down, right? We here, we helping people, you don't need to do this by that. For the parade committee, they have decided to refund me. That is no direct impact from the recreation team. That information is totally false. But I do want to share what we asked them to do is work with us. Why does it have to be separate anyway? It doesn't matter if you're older or younger. The fact is that all of us have something to contribute to the next person. And sometimes when you in an event, maybe you can't see all the pieces. It's okay to let somebody else look at your project. Don't let them take over. But it's okay to let them come aboard and say, help. Nothing wrong with that. We gotta get back to that. So just like the only on me, what you say, you don't wait for nobody else, you go there and do it. So next thing we got work to do. Any questions? No, silence is all. Sorry, Jackie. I promise, okay.
You didn't tell about this one. So I'm sorry.
Well, I thought the new website was gonna do it, so as always, right on cue, every time I leave this microphone, it's okay. So. The fourth Thursday in this month, one of the biggest things we always talk about is food insecurity. So we will have actually 2 big giveaways for the month of August, right? So the first will be on the back side of the candlelight, the fourth Thursday, I don't have the date, but it will be on the website at 9:30. On August the 29th, anybody that you know, I don't care who they are, make sure to come out to Beecham Park. We are looking to serve 1,000 people. That day is everything from school supplies. There could be food there, well, there will be, I'm sorry, food. There's groceries, new clothes, new shoes. There's some kind of personal hygiene stuff. And there's something else they give away. I know prayer, and then they give away Bibles, right? K-Com, Saturday, August 29th. That is the group that comes from 2 hours away to support and give some access every year, which is Waxaw, yeah. Miss McCown, Miss Louise, yes, Waxaw. So Miss Deborah, her husband, and Miss Elaine, all of them, and they come out in these box trucks and orange shirts and they support Maxon's. Just a little backstory real quick. They came when we had a hurricane one year, and they came to the park. If anybody remembers that, they came to Rob Henderson. And I remember I was at work that day and somebody called me and they said, have you ever met these men? Never met,
but they like Maxton so much, so their commitment to us every year is to come out. The Bible, me a little bit, people always say, you ain't calling to remind me. I try to send out reminders as much as I can, but I also have to work. It's hard to message a whole community of people. So I will share, look at that website, you can create, but it's the last Saturday of the month from 11 to 2 each month. Okay.
It's a new website. It's a new website.
It's a new website, I'm sorry. It's recreation.
Website.
Oh, MaxtonRecreation.com, sorry.
MaxtonRecreation.com. And while we on live, I need to do a shout out to Devin McCrimmon real quick. I'm sorry, man. Devin actually is doing a big event in November. It's a turkey trot. First time ever for Maxton. So y'all find y'all turkey shirts or outfits, whatever it is. We need to support Devin. He is a young adult in our community. And it's a 5K. His path will actually be the same, just like the parade. Again, it's a celebration, it's fun, all good stuff, but the fact that him and actually my Stanley Jr., your son, sorry, both of them are working together, so we wanna be able to support the young adults, because we won't be here forever. So if someone has an interest, and he don't live here, he has an interest in doing something for Maxton, please remember that's Saturday, November 21st, and again, it will be on the website, hey, our people. It's from 11 to 2. Make sure if you come there, you make sure you get early.
Drive.
Yeah. It's a drive. Every year. Yeah.
It's a drive.
So be early, because normally the first car every year is there before 8. And it is first come, first served, and they do have a meal, I can say that, I'm sparing that chicken. She laughing, but yeah, we eat. It's the power half of it. You see what time for going? Okay. She said I'm going.
We got any break?
Good evening, everybody. I heard your concerns at the last meeting. Can y'all hear us a little better now? Okay, we had this master come out, and it was just a button. Also, this is the drawing of the Newtown office and Maxton Police Department. And these are the blueprints here. That the architect sent us. We have 2 new employees I want to introduce. She left. Okay, I'm sorry, she just left. A young lady, Tiffany Lassane, came to us. She's working at the front office. She's come to us through the North Carolina Works program. Where this program, they pay for them for up to 582 hours. And then, we hire them on if, it works out. Also coming to the town is gonna be Miss Tanisha Dixon, and she's gonna be our town clerk. Cause Jack was here to help, but Jackie's not here to stay. So she'll be coming to us for the end of the month. Also, Miss Sandra, your question, our rate is actually 47.32.
47.
So it's actually $1.25 lower than what she has on this thing.
So is that for everybody in the city?
Yes.
Cause I had some people down there in Scotland Acres, they was wondering about their rate.
It depends on your usage.
Scotland Falls.
Yeah, that's the basic,
Okay,
but
that's.
it depends on your usage.
Yeah, I know that, it's Scotland Acres. I'm just supposed to get it. What is it?
That's online.
Do you have comments?
It is. Some years ago, we had, community meetings. And I just feel, we just bring this to town, that we need to start like doing at least twice a year. I think if we have those community meetings where we have at the, library, different places. But if we're gonna have a community meeting, I'm sure. School, we get something different for people to come and. We share information. Well, that's the biggest problem now here, while this town is, what's going on? Is that, what we're doing is not secret, it's just we have an agenda. That we have to go about, you have, you have time, you have to get certain things, you got people here, visit from the airport, different places, them in at a good time, that kind of thing. And so that's my suggestion, is that we sort of like have community meetings every 6 months or whatever, twice a year, and share information. We did that years ago, like during even for that. Yeah.
I have 3 things I want to mention. I know it's been hot, and, our workers out there, anywhere from 96 to 104 degrees, but, there's a main leak on Rockingham and Peter Street, man, when you get a chance, please take care of it. The next thing is Vivian Morrison, we cleaned up one time before, the house on, right next to, Wellington, street there, yeah, what was the first street? You got snakes and rats, all kind of things interfere with one property, it's terrible, and we know you should be making it worse. So please, we'll get some time to take care of it. And the last thing is, understand we have an open district for CDL driving. I would like for some diversity be put on here. You know, anybody that don't look like me, got CDL license, call me, Kyle Galler, the interest in that. We want to have diversity on the town, okay? That's it, thank you. Thanks.
Next transportation week update is September the 19th. Meetup station is there. Beach Park. Time 7 a.m. is on.
Okay.
So bring your rays, your blowers, we have trash bags, stickers. There was a couple of streets we need to get. And some trimmers. So we basically got old trash street good, but you still a lot of growth after that. It don't take much to get out.
It's already on. Yeah. Tanisha was asking me if your information for beautification was already on, it's on, tell Candy it's already on there. She made sure that it's on.
One thing I had, thank everybody for coming out. It's, always great, I'm sure Nehemiah, welcome aboard Ms. Dixon, and wish the same. Be safe, see you next meeting.
Very.